all the learning is always happening through somebody else. You know, it takes 1 minute to learn something, it could take you 10 years to figure it out. It's just being on the right place on the right time, you know. I want to tell you a little bit the story of what happened on the 1970s when the Beatles came out and the hippies came out, and 80% of the barbershops in this country closed, like out of business. Now, the good thing is that we have a lot better barbers this time than the time before. We have a lot of people who access to be barbers, like you guys, because you thought that barbering was a cool thing, but you could have been a cosmetology person too. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of those. So I think it's a lot of creativity that it could happen from then to move on if you get, exposed to better tools, okay? So let me just show you this video. You guys all familiar with The Matrix? The movie The Matrix? Okay, so I made a video when the last Matrix came out. And you guys know that, Neo used to have a short haircut, no? But on the last movie, he doesn't have short haircut. So basically it tells the story, what it used to be and what it is. What? What the heck? Pick up the phone.
This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything from clothing to equipment, weapons, training simulations, anything we need.
So right now we are inside a computer program?
Is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different, the plugs in your arms and head are gone. Your hair has changed.
But I don't want my hair like this. I want it like John Wick.
It is the mental projection of your digital self.
So this is not real?
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. This is the world that you know. The world as it was at the end of the 20th century. It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix. You've been living in a dream world, Neo. This is the world as it exists today. Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
No, I don't believe it. It's impossible. I need more training.
How was he? 10 hours straight. He's a machine.
I know, free form.
Show me.
This is a sparring program, similar to the programmed reality of the Matrix. It has the same basic rules like gravity. What you must learn is that these rules are no different than the rules of a computer system. Some of them can be bent. Others can be broken. Understand?
Neo is creating his new haircut.
Do you believe that My being stronger or faster has anything to do with my muscles in this place. You think that's air you're breathing now? Good. Adaptation, improvisation. But your weakness is not your technique. Again. You're faster than this. Don't think you are. Know you are.
He's fast. Check out his neurokinetics.
How you guys have somebody coming to see you with a phone and a picture and they're saying, I want this. Is that happening to you?
Yeah, every day.
Okay, every freaking day, okay? So this is my take on that. That didn't used to happen. Like back on the day, we went and took a class, whatever it was, and they taught us a collection of haircuts. Remember that? So you learn a collection of haircuts. And then you went and tried to put those haircuts on your clients. But at that time, they took whatever you say. And then you had that book, then it was with the collections, and it was on the lobby, and people look at those and say, yeah, I want this. But they don't, I want this. Then you told them you want this. Yeah, that was how it was before. Now it's changing because now people are saying, no, I know exactly what I want. And this is what I want. Now, for many, many years, people could get away with that. Well, that's not good for your hair type. That's not this for that. But the problem now is like, it's enough social media there that people say, no, but let's have somebody with it. And okay, it can be done. I have thousands of DMs every day, like thousands, by thousands. Nobody can cut the hair like me on my country. I'm not talking about whole country. It's not possible. People can cut your hair, but you don't know who they are. But the experience of the people, the consumer right now, is that they go to someone, they ask for something, and they don't get what they want. Okay, so let's just go with this. This is one of the few things I want you guys to remember, okay? So this is the original, and this is a hair reproduction. It's not just to do a great haircut. Everybody can do a haircut, but it's the ability to create the look that you want to create, or they want to get. So it's, can you do what you wanted to do, the way you wanted to do? Hair reproduction is not just being able to do a great haircut. It's the ability to create a hairstyle that they want or that you want to create. That's hair reproduction. Okay, again, a lot of people can't cut the hair and make a good hairstyle, but can you do what you want? Can you make it like that picture? Can you make it like you saw in your mind? I was 15 years old when I started doing hair, and I remember very vividly on my mind and I could see perfect haircuts and styles on people's heads, but when I was trying to do it with my hands, it never looked the same as I was seeing on my own head. I spent almost 40 years as a professional trying to solve that problem. Let me share with you my discoveries and the concept of deconstruction. The beauty industry has been using for inspiration architectural design for years. Let me share with you the history and the heroes of all that you all do behind the chair today. Because we like it or not, we are an art form. We get a piece of media and transform the media into a different piece. That's what we do, no? And we use different elements. We cut, we shape, that's sculpting. And I think we're more sculptors than architects. Like we were taught for many years that we're architects. You guys agree with that? All the cutting that we done. But are you into math? Only a few hairdressers are into math. I don't think we're the ones to build. I think we're the ones who like to take off. Like I see the mass and I want to make it into a smaller piece. That's how I see it. I don't see it like building it. You guys get what I'm saying? Yeah. I think majority of hairdressers, I'm not going to say that some hairdressers, they are not mathematical, but most of us, We're not. Now, it is some math to it, and I'm going to share with you guys the math because it's some real math to hairdressing too. So let me get you back to art, and this is what is called Art Nouveau. Now, Art Nouveau is the art form on the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it was based on fashion. Is one of the kind. Okay, this is a very famous building, still built in Barcelona, called La Sagrada Familia. This is 100 years in the making. This building. The guy who was building this building will come up in the morning and say, I just want a little angel here. So you two work on the angel. I want to do a Christmas tree right here. You work on, like that. That was freaking random. And the building was random. So he actually got run by a trolley on the middle of construction and died. He has no way to finish the thing. So for more than 60 years, the building got no construction. Open roof, rain inside. I've been inside, raining. Now we have new technology is allowing them to look at what he was doing and kind of predict how it should look like going forward. So they're using new technology to actually give it a finished look. So this building is going to be finished, I think, within the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's going to be done. So if you guys ever had the chance to go to Barcelona, and I suggest you guys go because Barcelona is one of the coolest cities in the world for art, come and visit this building. But what I want you guys to remember about Art Nouveau is one of the kind. It's costume tailored. It's one of the kind, one piece. Commissioned by one person, done by one person, and it's unique. You can't find it anywhere else. The same. All right, Alexander Paris is the most famous hairstylist before Vidal Sassoon. Now, we need to know this. It is not right that us, we don't know how we're making our living and who brought us to be where we are. I mean, we all have to honor these people, okay? He was most likely the most famous hairstylist before Vidal Sassoon. Now, he's out of Paris, obviously. But you can see how he's so trying to figure out how to do this like hair in the space, no? Trying to do graphics. Remember, at this time, people were doing roller sets. Let me tell you how I learned how to cut hair. I think I shared that with a couple of you guys. You pull the head up, you cut a piece, and roll a big video perm. Grab the next one, cut it, and roll. I was doing cutting and rolling at the same time.
That was choppy. Good time.
Yeah, but it worked. Why? Because when I was pulling that off, then I was coming with my roller, and I was rolling it, and I have straight lines, no? So it was perfect for that. But that was one of the kind, because I had to build it every single time, no? It was a one of the kind system, but it wasn't so determined by the kind. That's real. That's where we come from. Okay, so just remember, this guy, Alexander Paris. If you were doing fashion, and everybody's tired of the one of the kind, what do you want to do next?
Massive reproduction.
Massive reproduction. Okay, agree? That will be the next trend. Yeah. Okay. So this is the next movement of fashion. It's called the Bauhaus movement. This is what you were talking about, no?
The what?
The reproduction.
Right.
This is the prefabricated house. Mm-hmm. Have you guys ever heard about the Bauhaus movement? Okay, so some people have. Okay, if you ever get serious about Vidal Sassoon, okay, Vidal Sassoon was all built on the Bauhaus movement, not just the cutting system, but actually the schools and how they were run. So this movement is 1920s, started up in Germany at the Bauhaus house of architectural design. So think about this. It was a prefabricated home. It was part of the communists. So these were the communists in Germany, and they want to try a house for everybody. Now, if you have a lot of money, you get in a granite wall. If you don't have a lot of money, you get a plaster, but you guys get a 10 house. So one house for everybody. So that's what Vidal Sassoon used. That's what People Point used to create all the kind of systems that we know. All that we know, thank goodness we have those guys. So now we have a language and a system to talk about. But that's how the collections came out. They were prefabricated haircuts that we went to learn, and then we tried to do on people's heads. Now remember, before that was no beauty schools. You had to work with Alexander Paris or somebody like that as an assistant and apprentice for 5-6 years, and he was passing it to you one at a time. That's why it was no beauty schools, and it was nothing like that. Because of People Point, and because of Vidal Sassoon for professionals, high professional, and People Point for the more of the students, we actually have a system, a vocabulary, a way to talk about it. Mies, he was the last president of the Bauhaus movement in Germany. They all got kicked out by the Nazis. All of them, they moved to the United States. Most they moved to Chicago. There's somebody from Chicago here, no? You were from Chicago, no? All right, so Chicago. So a lot of the people, like People Point, is based on Chicago. and actually went to the school of Bauhaus to actually get all the systems, all what we know about graduation, uniform, incremental, the 0 degrees, the 45, the 90, the over there, all of that comes from that vocabulary that it was developed by the people who did this architectural movement. There is Vidal Sassoon, most likely the most famous person that has ever done hair on this planet. Okay, so Sunny was trying to compare me with that. I actually have him watch me cutting hair. So I was doing the show in Chicago, the IBS show, and I'm on stage doing this older lady, which was actually the mother of the person who was running the show, which I didn't know at that time, and I'm doing a pitsy haircut. And I'm talking smack, like big time, about precision cutting on stage. I don't know, he's there with the whole entourage watching me for, but it was about 10 minutes already, and I just talking smack, he watched me for 20 minutes. I mean, this guy doesn't stop, he was just going from one thing to another. He just stopped to watch, and he was watching me for 20 minutes. So at the end of the day, he gave me a thumbs up, which that's a dear moment that I just treasure forever, okay? Because I do own all the Vidal Sassoon books that you don't ever get to see, the ones that they're like $1,000 if you can find a copy. And he didn't cut hair like what we thought that he cut hair, okay? He did a lot of things that twisting the hair and cutting, like a lot of things that the teachers didn't taught that. Mm-hmm. Think about deconstruction right now. So this is the art form today. This is the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, Spain. Is anybody ever been in New York at the Guggenheim Museum in New York? Okay, so that's Frank Lloyd Wright, which he was a Bauhaus person. So he did the Bauhaus. So at that time, Bauhaus, it was the movement. So it is the one that looks circular. This is actually by Frank Gehry. Frank Gehry is the most famous architect these days. Now, do you think somebody could have thought about this kind of building 100 years ago?
No.
Think about it. Could they have thought about it?
They could think about it.
Yeah, they could have drawn it. They could not do it. They could not do it. Why couldn't they do it?
No tools.
They didn't have the technology. These buildings, he used a technology called CATIA. It's a program that it was designed to actually create airplanes. And he used that to actually create buildings so they can figure out how to support the building. So my point with this is that technology has changed, but we haven't, and the beauty industry, moved with technology. New technologies present us with new problems and new solutions. And this has been a long journey for me to try to bring deconstruction to the beauty industry. You hear it. You guys will be in a class and somebody will say deconstruction. They'll use that. They use the word. But then when you see what they're doing, you just use the word because it's fancy. Mm-hmm. Deconstruction allows you to see a finished product and figure out the elements who made it, so you can take it apart, so you can put it back together in a different way. How am I going to take it apart? That's the process that we can learn. So this process right now is about retraining your brain and how you look at doing hair. Like you guys been processed to learn how to do hair in a certain way, then it doesn't allow creativity at the same way that this is going to do. The deconstruction process has 4 steps. If you can draw anything, you can cut it. So we're going to practice a little bit of drawing. Now, don't worry if you're not good at drawing, okay? It's not about being good at drawing. This is the whole process. No, this is the picture. This is the artistic drawing, okay? Then is what we call the perimeter drawing. The most visual part of the haircut is the perimeter. That's the perimeter, okay? This is actually what we call the way line. This is what we call active, and this is what we call inactive. So this is the elements that we're looking at. And then you have what we call the interior graphic design, which is the layers, the direction of the volume, texture, all the direction, the volume, and it comes from the layering part of it. And then we talk about, which is this part, no? This is the math part of it. That we like it or not, it is math to it. And you can do anything if you understand the math. So when you see me putting the fingers or the combs and I go really fast, it's because I know what to put in it. Really quick. And I can make this. You could show me right now, any of you guys could show me a picture right now, and 5 minutes later I have the haircut done here on a mannequin. Like, I don't care what picture it is. I don't care who did it and what it is. I can just boom, boom, done. Because I know the process. These are the things to have in consideration when you do the artistic drawing. On the artistic, we're going to be looking at the shape of the haircut. We're going to be looking at the texture, and we're going to be looking at the color. Those are the elements that I'm looking at. For the shape, it's a few things, and we're going to go through those right now. Okay, so the artistic drawing is this. This is the look. This is what I did. So when you're doing this deconstruction process, and from this point forward, I want you guys to be looking at people's hair and making those decisions by looking at it. So you're going to be looking at the length. What is the length? Bam. The next thing you're going to be looking, remember the steps, okay? We're going to use the steps to draw now. The frame. The frame is the first piece of hair that sits on the front of the frame, yeah? This hair, if it was sitting somewhere about right here, no? It would be my frame point. Agree?
Yes.
So that's where it cuts from here to there. From here to there. That's the frame. So this is my beginning of the frame, where you guys can see there, no?
Is the frame just a general spot like where the ears are? Or?
No, like the frame, like you could have a base and then the frame starts from here down. So the frame is wherever you start the first hair, then it goes from here down. Mm-hmm. That's the beginning of the frame. So the frame is considered from this point to this point. Yeah? Mm-hmm. That's called the frame. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the beginning of the frame. We already know where it ends because that was our length. The next thing is the way line. The way line is the first layer that it sits on the hair. So the way line for Angel, if you look at my hairline here, that's the way line. That's the first hair. Mm-hmm. So my length is this. My frame is this piece of hair, and my way line is this piece of hair. That's what we are looking on the picture. That's what you have to determine, because that determines the whole haircut. So I like that this, and then after that, other things to have consideration that have texture. Does the one has texture? Yeah, it has a little texture, no? Because you see the hair moving this way, maybe this way, but some people can make a pattern of way, whatever it is, no? So that would be another analysis that I have to make, or it's straight. Then is the direction of the hair. Is the hair going back? Is it going forward? Is it going up? Is it going under? Can it go any other way? Is it going back? Is it going forward? Is it going up? Is it going under? Can it go any other way?
That's it.
I mean, maybe it's spiky, maybe it's spike out, whatever. But it's not like it's not like that many ways your hair can go. You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to determine the direction of the hair. And the other thing is it has color. What is the color? Is it a piece on the front? Is it a balayage? Is it half of hair one color, half of the other color? Is it on the tips?
Is there roots?
Is it root? Then you can look at all those things and make some assumptions. So we're looking at, that's all the elements. You got the shape by the length, the frame, the way line, where the active and the inactive area is. If it has direction of the hair, where it goes. If it has texture, how it is. And if it has color, what it is and how it looks. That's all the pieces. So when we're talking about deconstruction, is looking at the elements and taking them apart. Those are the parts. So we're taking it apart, and then we make a consultation on it. So if I'm doing somebody's hair, I'm going to say, hey, Brad, we're going to be cutting your hair. What do you think about the length here? Say, yeah, cool. How about we start the frame about this area? Oh, that's cool. I like that. You want your layers about right here? Yeah, I like that. You want a little sun-kissed highlight on the front? Yeah, I like that too. Okay, your hair is kind of a little wavy. You want me to smooth it out? That's the kind of, that's how you actually see it on your mind and you tell them, or you see in a picture and just tell them how it's going to look like. Yeah. It's simple, no?
Yeah.
But the power of this is that you're going to start seeing people's hair and making determinations how this hair is being done just by looking at it when you do the exercise. So it's going to take 2 weeks of you doing exercises. Or you what I call tracing haircuts. Is you see the picture and you're going to trace it on top of it. When we are talking about graphic design, we are talking about the math that is involved in the process. This is like really creation. This is like the difference in between being a cookie cutter and being able to create, being a designer, and being able to, make your own designs. It's really cool. I love this process. And the math part I like it. So the next thing we're going to be talking about the difference in between the perimeter and the interior part of it, and then the projection. So we're going to be working right now on this part. We're going to be talking about the perimeter and the interior part of it, okay? So to do that, this is what I want to talk to you guys about. So on graphic design, we're going to be starting with this process, which tells us about what is the inactive and the active area. And then we're going to be moving into how to put the hair at 90 degrees from the head, and then figure out how it's being cut. You might be familiar with the A panels or the octagon on the head, but let me share with you my own version. The planes of the hair is where you put the hair at 90 degrees from the head. These are the A panels from the front. The flat, curves, flat, curves, and flat. This is the one from the profile. Flat, curve, flat, curve, flat, curve, flat, and curve. And this is the one that goes around the head. flat, 2 curves, 2 flats, 2 curves, and another flat. So on the back of the head, you have the flat and the 2 curves. And then you have 2 flats on the sides. When we get measurements for the graphic design, you'll be using the octagon. When we learn the French technique, we'll be using the octagon around the head. And when we look to get sections on the head, we'll be looking at the octagon as well. A lot of people have been told that the octagon sits on the apex, as you can see on this graphic. But I prefer to look at it on the flats of the head. Because in my opinion, this is where we pull the hair to cut it versus this one. Agree?
Yeah.
So people don't cut off the apex, they cut off the flat of the head. So I moved the octagon from being on the apex to be on the flat of the head, because this makes a lot of sense for all of us, how we cut hair. And it determines the spaces on the head properly, where the flats are and where the curves are. So if you want to do one of the kind costume tailor, I'm going to actually be looking at the head shape of people, because the front to back is going to be different on your face than your head and my head. It could be that one side is on front of the ear and the other one is on the back of the ear, to define what front and back is. And I'm going to be, when I cut this whole piece, I'm going to have that in consideration. And when I travel my graduation from the back to the front, I'm going to have to change my angle from a graduating to an incremented, from a positive to a negative, because if I continue with my angle graduated, I will catch holes on the sides. So it's a different haircut on the front than the back. It's 2 different haircuts to get the same layer around. So it might be different, but it's going to make a lot of sense for deconstruction.
Angles is how you holding your fingers.
Fingers, the combs, or whatever you're using.
But
Yeah.
everything has been pulled
From the head.
90 degrees.
Yeah.
So what's the front of the head then? The 135?
Yeah, just looking at it from the front right now. But they do it for anything. See, they just look at the highest point. So they'll put the apex on this point. I don't put it.
Highest part.
Yeah, and I put it on the flats.
Got
So
it.
I look at what the flat is, because it makes more sense. That's where we pull the hair out. We don't pull it on the apex. You don't look at the apex and cut the hair like this, no?
No. You're not cutting on the slope of the apex. You're cutting off the flat part of that.
Out of the flats. We look at the flats. Well, you'll see me. I'll cut flat here. I'll cut flat here, and then yes, I blend here. This is blends haircuts. This is cuts haircuts. To create the octagon, you gotta look at what is called the dots. Okay, so I'm going to guys look at the dots of the octagon. So you look at the flat, and you're going to create some dots to follow the octagon. Okay, because that's where you gotta look at it. So figure out, if you was going to put up a marker there, what might be my dots. Obviously, every single head is going to be different, because everybody has a different head shape, no? So you gotta be looking at what their head shape is. But this is done on a circle, so this particular head shape that I create is basically matching a head, like a round head. Let's talk about some general concepts. I like to make this super easy for all of you, so let's check out simple angles and lines. Okay, so these are the angles, okay? So when you look at an angle, 0 degrees is called natural fall, agree?
Yes.
That's brown. Anything that is on orange, it goes from 0 to 90, is a negative angle. You see, it's a negative angle. Do you see this angle? That's negative. This is called a negative angle. This is a neutral angle, which is matching at 90 degrees. 90 degrees, it will be 90 degrees. It's called neutral. In French, it's called mesh. This is out, and that's in. And in British, what they just, they call it a graduation, an incremented, and a uniform. Same thing, just different verbiage, because of the concept that we're teaching. This one, it passed the 90, so it becomes a positive angle. You see that? It's past the angle, so it's a positive angle. This will create graduations. This will create incrementos. This will create neutral or uniform. On French, mesh, out and in. So these are all the lines that you can normally cut on the hair, no? You got a horizontal line, a vertical line, a diagonal forward, and a diagonal back. That's it. More than that, you're complicating it. No more. And then for the ones when we get more artistic, you got a concave and a convex. Agree? Concave, convex. That's all we need to know. You got all the angles and you got all the lines. On deconstruction, we'll be taking advantage of the 4 more useful cutting techniques. Okay, 4 major ways to cut hair. It's the French method, the free form, the condensed cutting, the precision cutting. Again, lucky me, right place, right time. I got French method. I got French method when I was at Jean Juarez. You know, they were all precision cutting. Vidal Sassoon trained. We were all precision cutting training, and then they decided they want to go French method. So people like Candy Shah, Freddy Fekai, Christophe came to Jean Juarez for a whole year to train 10 of us, the artistic team of Jean Juarez. And I got to be on that group. And then we had to teach that to all 1,000 hairstylists of Jean Juarez. And they had 1 year to change from precision to French. It became very popular on the 90s, the French method. You know, when Jennifer Aniston came up with the look, they were not kind of on the flat of the head, they were kind of on the round of the head, they were more soft haircuts. Okay, so lucky me, I got that training. Now, People Point, it taught me precision cutting for years. I taught precision cutting for like, you know, some 40 years, okay, so I'm comfortable with that. But freeform is something that I learned when I was in Spain, you know, working with my boss in Spain there. This is something that is more sculpting-based hair cutting. It's a lot more barbering. This is like all barbering style. It's sculpting hair. This is like the most freestyle cutting hair. Then it's the most organic. It's going to feel the best thing for you guys to cut. But it's really complicated to teach if you don't have the basis that we just discussed. Because there will be like people random like, what the heck am I cutting here? And then it's condensed cutting, which is multiple forms of condensed cutting. We'll be doing condensed cutting by twisting. We'll be doing condensed cutting with the twin combs. Now, Alan Bush taught the volumetrics for many years. Do you guys know who Alan Bush is? Alan Bush is the first person that Vidal Sassoon brought to the United States to start the academies, okay? He's a personal friend of mine. He taught a technique called the volumetrics, when you move the hair in one place and cut it, move in another place and cut it. Anyhow, very like fluid way of cutting hair. Then it's condensed cutting. This I learned working with Philip Wilson. He's known for the twin comb techniques. Okay, the difference in between French cuts on top of the fingers, and you cut from the bottom up, and precision cuts from the top of the head and with the fingers with the palm looking at you. And then it's the whole difference in between large format cutting and small format. Large format cutting, you cut all the perimeter at once, and then you cut the layers interiorly. And they use 7-inch blades. Precision cutting uses small blades, and they do it. So basically, this is how it works. French cutting, they pull the hair at 90 degrees to the head, and they call this mesh in and out. And they travel the haircut from the top to the bottom. So they cut all the perimeter at once, and they travel the haircut from the top to the bottom. So you can see how I use on all these elements. When you do precision cutting, you do horizontal parts, and you cut the hair from the bottom up. You got 0 degrees, 45, and 90. And you collect it up. You got solid, graduated, incremented, and uniform haircuts, and all combination of that. That's precision cutting. So it's based on the sculpt. That's based on architectural design. And then we have condensed cutting, which is like you put the hair on the 80s, throw the hair in a ponytail, boom, cut it off. That's what started condensed cutting. To achieve 99% of any haircut with the deconstruction method, you can use one of these 3 sections. Then we're going to be doing only 3 different sectioning. So all the cuts that I do, they only use 3 sections. With the exception of one with a hanging piece that is extra long, and I will just put that apart. So we decide, we make a difference in between the interior part of it and the perimeter. So I separate the hair from the interior from the perimeter, or I separate the hair from the front to the back, or I separate the hair from the top to the bottom with a horseshoe shave. That's all. You don't need any other section. Now, this horseshoe, it can be shorter, longer, it could be diagonal, it could be whatever. No, this it could be in front of the back there, this it could be thicker or less thick. But with those sections, you do all the haircuts that I do. Every single haircut, doesn't matter which one it is. You show me the picture, I'll use one of those sections and I cut it. It's preferred that when you cut the hair, you always go from short to long, following the direction of the hairstyle. And then we always try to cut short to long. Okay, so the idea is always cut short to long. No, and this side got short to long, and this one I'm going to long to short. You know, like I'm doing French on this side and precision on the other one. Because a lot of people do that, no? Because they're right-hand cutter. So there it goes this way, and there it goes this way.